I wish I could communicate, Joe, how much fear I have right now as a Jewish person on Twitter with the well of hatred that I feel coming up, which has been suppressed.
Yes, Eric, you said it right, that hatred was suppressed by certain Zionist entities. Did you really think the top would never blow off, given all the crimes they have committed? And you can think for yourself who they are.
And you want to know what I want? I want the anti-Semites to speak up. I want to hear them. I want them to have free speech. You have two choices in a society like this. You can either try to control what people think and what they say, or you can have a cultural penalty for saying something that is horrible. And I want us to have free speech with a cultural penalty for these things, as opposed to having to regulate what you can and cannot say.
Finally, this old fart shows his true colors. So basically, you want American citizens speaking out against the crimes of Israel to get canceled or to be put in jail? How about you just grow a thicker skin? This fucking guy, this boomer from the tribe, does not seem to understand that the consequence of communism, also known as Zionism, is fascism. Well, with the way things are going, we will get there faster than you think, Eric.
Were you shocked that we intervened? That we bombed their nuclear sites?
No. By the time we'd gotten a few days into what the Israelis were doing, it looked like there was really very little option. We were going to have to go in and do that because the Israelis did not have the ability to do that, right? There are operations, again, like people can argue about, they should have done it, but from an operational perspective, it was pretty damn impressive, right? Taking out some of the military leadership, taking out some of those nuclear program managers, directors, scientists, was really impressive.
Well,
and
one of the things that was so impressive was when they tricked them with a fake phone call. Everybody get together in the bunker.
Yes.
And then they blew the bunker up.
Yeah. I mean, it shows the depth of their intel capabilities because, again, they've been doing this for years because it's an existential goddamn threat.
Part of the problem with having these administrations that are only in office for 4 years. So, like, they have all their problems that they have to deal with. They get in. They're basically starting the job anew. And then you've got these companies out there that are hiring Chinese nationals, and you don't even know it.
Yeah. This is sickening. Mike and Joe are laughing at killing scientists in a foreign country because Bibi has a tape of Trump being pissed on by some prostitutes. Mike, we really are not as stupid as you think we are. We can see through your Zionist propaganda. Is this really the angle Joe is going to take? China is the enemy now. I seem to remember that some rats from the Middle East have completely infiltrated our government and have videos of most of our prominent politicians slurping on kids on a hard drive sitting on Bibi's desk.
And then people talk about regime change and then everybody gets all squirrely. So, but you're going to have this same problem. And they've already said they are going to continue to arm their proxies. Right? And there have already been weapons shipments that have been interdicted going to the Houthis, going to Hezbollah, right? That process of them getting weapons to their proxies is more difficult in part because Syria's fallen, and the Syrian government is, it doesn't like Iran. The new one, the Islamist government that's there, doesn't like Iran. So they're shutting down some of that traditional routes that they used to move weapons back and forth and other resources. But they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep trying. So we've kind of, it's putting lipstick on a pig. We've created a better situation in the short term, but it doesn't solve the problem.
I don't mean to sound like a black-pilled doomer here, but going to war with Iran sounds like the least of my worries now. Billionaire Zionists are slurping on our kids, and our government is infiltrated by rats from the Middle East. At this point, I completely understand if it were true what Mike says here, that Iran is moving large amounts of weapons. I would too if my country were treated by gays in Tel Aviv.
This is what's discouraging, is that Trump said, when I get into office, I can fix this in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And
I know.
That seemed
messaging problem. Again,
crazy.
Messaging problem.
Yeah.
It's always, again, I go back to that same thing. There's always a problem with and again, I'm just saying maybe get better, comms people.
Mike, are you not forgetting your own history here? Do you not know about the Jewish heritage of Zelensky? About his connections with Bibi? Zelensky was in a dance class and an acting school for most of his miserable 5-foot-long life. If even I know about it, how the fuck does a senior CIA official not know about it? The answer is simple. Mike does know about it. He just chooses not to tell because he's obviously trying to reshape history here. Because history is written by the victors in the blood of the conquered. And what Mike is doing here is no different. I just wish he would realize that we're not as dumb as he thinks we are. And the Great Awakening is happening as we speak.
If we say we're not going to support them, and you can't inflict enough pressure or whatever you want to call it, pain on Putin to get him in a serious way to the negotiating table, then ultimately, the Russian military will overwhelm them, right? Because they've got the support of China. They've got certainly the support of North Korea. North Korea's about to send another 30,000 troops.
Bro, am I in a K-hole getting Putin to the negotiating table? We, as America, with our bitches in NATO, promised the former Soviet Union that NATO would not move 1 mile closer to their border. Has this guy been smoking crack, or is he also in the Epstein files? Slurping on kids so he has to keep his billionaire Zionist masters happy? Not saying that this Mike isn't a nice guy. It's just so telling that he is compromised at this point. I don't even understand why Joe has him on the pod as much as he does. At this point, I am only watching the JRE to get a measure of how fucked we really are. The pod could have been so much more, but it has just become a mouthpiece for billionaires and their interests.
It's just, again, it's a self-inflicted wound. He shouldn't have done it, but I'm trying to speak to the complexity that's going on out there right now.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
Mike Baker.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Anyway, so that's we touched very briefly. We haven't even talked about the situation with Hamas and Israel, but I'll leave that for another day.
Hear what this boomer just said. I have not even touched on the topic of Israel and Gaza, but I will leave that for another day. That's what Mike said. Really convenient for you, Mike. And the worst of all is that Joe does not even give pushback on this matter. What the fuck has happened with Joe at this point? Has he become too rich for us? Goyim, working hard in the trenches? Some guys in the comments on previous videos even said that Joe's wife is from the tribe, but I haven't found any evidence of that yet. If you do, let me know in the comments. I would love to make a video about it.
Look at Iran. We would have never had the attack on Israel at all. Iran was broke. I told China, if you buy, you can't do business in the United States under any circumstance. We're going to go cold turkey with China. Some people think that would have been a good idea anyway. But if you buy any oil, 1 barrel of oil from them, you're not doing business. I said that to many countries.
From the CIA handlers to the boomer professors spewing their filth unto us, unbelievers. You do have to wonder, do they even believe anything that they themselves are saying? Or is this all just to form the narrative? And if this is all to control the narrative, how do these people sleep at night and not wake up screaming in agony for all the misinformation they spewed into the world like filth of old? Fuck me. I think it's time for a revolution.
If I'm going to send my daughter or yours to some university to study, I would much rather for her to be in a society in Tel Aviv or Haifa than I would in many of the other places. So it's in that sense that I'm pro-Israel. So if you ask me to allocate 100 points to how much of my support of Israel is due to the fact that many of its foundational values are similar to those of the United States versus the fact that I'm Jewish and Israel is a Jewish state, I would say 80-20 for the latter, meaning that I am defending the civilizational values of Israel in a very, very difficult and belligerent neighborhood. Does Israel always do things perfectly? No.
Israel, he's there right now.
Have you been to Israel?
No.
Okay. You know what I suggest you
Doesn't
do?
seem like a good time to go. Seems like it's a little dangerous.
I mean, in that sense, yes. But go there and live out the vibe. Look, it's an incredibly gay-tolerant place, right? Tel Aviv, short of San Francisco, New York, Montreal, it's one of the most queer-friendly places. It's very bohemian. It's reggae music playing. Israelis are, in French you say bon vivant, good livers.
There are people who know how to make things happen that aren't within the law. What is the mafia? We watch all these mafia pictures, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mafia is about contract enforcement when you can't use the courts. That doesn't sound like what the mafia is, but that's what it is. It's a business. What happens when you're in an illegal business and you can't enforce a contract? Right?
Yeah.
You have to use muscle. So we use genteel. Like he says, she can be taught. You want me to talk to her? We can handle it. This is the genteel language of roughing somebody up, killing somebody, and making problems go away. So the mafia is about business. It's not about violence. This is a guy in Epstein's direct orbit. This is what Epstein was. He was a Starker.
Socrates could think. So that was... Jesus of Nazareth was the same way, right? Never wrote anything. I thought he was a carpenter.
Okay, so his connection to scientists, though, was the purpose of that?
We don't know, but I keep saying...
What's your
that-
assumption?
My assumption is that he was a clearinghouse, that somebody set him up at fair expense. I'm going to say 9-figure expense. So I think this was a 9-figure fortune, hundreds of millions. And what it had the trappings of multi-billionaire. It had trillionaire written all over it for a 9-figure fortune. So it's orders of magnitude off of what it was. And I believe that was only possible because there was a collection of sovereigns behind him. I don't think it was one nation. I think it was a bunch of countries. And the most obvious country is not Israel. It's the U.S. because he was operating on U.S. soil. Do I think Israel was involved? Certainly. Do I think that the UK was involved? I do. Saudi Arabia, I do.
Right. And so cannibalism, either at the level you see in Mesoamerica, right? Blood drinking, right? That's why blood drinking is forbidden right throughout the Bible. And so there was cannibalism involved in this human sacrifice.
Some of the biggest defenders of the United States are typically, it might sound paradoxical, but if you think about it, it's not, are usually immigrants who have sampled from the wide variety of buffets of societies out there.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we know that the anomaly called the United States is truly an anomaly, whereas the American wakes up in his life and he thinks that the liberties and freedoms that you have in the United States are just the default value. That's just the way it is.
Right.
It isn't. That's what makes the United States great. So for me, by the way, that also explains why people think, for example, that I defend Israel because I'm Jewish. There is an element to that. I mean, most of my family's in Israel. But it's really, I defend Israel because many of its values are congruent with those that we hold dear in the United States. So given the region of the Middle East...
So this is what I've been trying to say all along. The only country that I'm absolutely positive was behind Jeffrey Epstein is us. You can't operate here. Look, right now we are in the middle of endless anti-Semitic Christmas. It just goes on forever. And you can...
But it's also Israeli society doesn't universally support the war either.
Exactly. But that speaks to the fact that there is a multiplicity
That
of
it's an open
realities. It's an
society.
open society, right?
Yeah.
There are Muslim guys who will go in front of this Knesset and will say things that would never be tolerated in any other society. So is Israeli society perfect? No. But is it the beast and the monster and the demon that you see as a caricature? I mean, nothing could be further from the truth.
You look at Jeffrey Epstein, I have no question that he was directly connected to Israel, you know? But first and foremost, I believe that I hate when we use the word asset. You should use a vaguer word because those technical things, like who's an agent, who's an operator.
Right. And then there was an ongoing ritual life. And according to the Book of Wisdom or the Wisdom of Solomon, that depending on where you land, right, Christianity may or may not be part of your Old Testament, makes this explicit. Other texts outside of the scriptures make this explicit, that the ongoing ritual life of these people involved human sacrifice. And human sacrifice involved cannibalism.
Yes.
We have a very skewed view of we haven't done a lot of animal sacrifice and seen a lot of it, so we have kind of this skewed view that it's about killing the animal. It's not really about killing the animal, it's about eating the animal.
Yes.
Part of it being offered to God or a god, and then part of it being consumed.
Do they have politicians that are corrupt? Yes. Have pedophiles who did bad things here tried to go there and have aliyah, meaning get residency there, and run away from yes, but it could also be the case that a bank robber or a pedophile goes back to Thailand if there are no extradition mechanisms to bring them back to the United States. So my position of defending the United States or Israel or whomever else really stems from some foundational values of liberty and freedom. There is no conceivable place in the world where, given the neighborhood that Israel exists in, one would conceivably defend any of those other societies instead of Israel, if the metrics that you care about are personal liberties and freedoms. We could then debate specific policies, and you'd be completely in your right to say, I don't like when the Israeli government does this. But, well, let me ask you, and forgive me for asking you a personal question. If, let's say, your daughter today said, Dad, I'd like to go and just study 1 year abroad, and it's going to be somewhere in the Middle East, you, Joe Rogan, how likely would you be to support her going in the Middle East to a university other than in Israel?
That's interesting. When you say the Middle East, you mean like Saudi Arabia or the United Arab Emirates? Because I think it's pretty safe there.
Okay, so you're right. That's true. And I'm, by the way, I'm loving the openness that many of these countries are exhibiting. And I'll tell you a quick personal story, and then I'd love to then hear your.
Okay.
I was approached by Al Arabiya. Al Arabiya is the premier news network they're Saudi, but they were actually located in Dubai. And Riz Khan, who was the anchor that was flying from Dubai to interview me in Montreal for Al Arabiya, he used to be the main anchor, I think, at BBC Global or CNN Global. I said to Riz, are we going to be talking about things like Islam and these kind? He goes, yeah, feel free to talk about whatever you want. I said, well, I'm not worried so much about me, but you're going to have to go back to that region. Are you comfortable? Like, I mean, I'll be very professorial and proper, but I will say some difficult truths. He goes, say whatever you want. Because I can't comment as to whether he's been lying all the times when he said there's 2 more years left, or 1 more year, or 6 more months. But surely we can grant the American government enough leeway to presume that if they thought that at this point it's the right time and it is now intolerable for them to go another day with the current reality, that they probably had some intelligence that suggests that they are close. So I can't comment whether Netanyahu was pulling our eyes. But surely it can't be that the Israelis are so manipulative in their puppeteering that they've pulled the wool over the American eyes. And really, there's no danger that the Iranians were posing, and we've convinced the Americans to go to war.
Finally, Gad says something truthful, but he frames it in the light of, surely this could not have happened. Would Israel not even be able to pull the curtains over the eyes of the American public? No, it's not just Israel. It's the untold amount of Zionist billionaires that are doing most of the heavy lifting and slurping on our kids while they do it. I wish I could give you some interesting commentary here, but fuck me, man. These clips all just speak for themselves. All are just Zionists pretending to play stupid while they continue to subvert our government. All Boomer takes and gay propaganda point. And the worst part about it is that they don't even see the bullshit themselves are spewing for what it is. A true fucking disgrace. If these are considered the right-wing professors in our universities, we are completely fucked.
If there was a tax on, if Biden got shot in the ear, we would have never heard the end of it.
But I think he's in good shape because it's only consequential presidents. If you take a look at what's happened, look, if you look at him, he told Israel not to do anything, and at least Israel's not going to look at a bomb the way they would have been. Think if they listened to Biden, they'd be waiting for a bomb to drop on their head right now. He's been wrong about so much. I guess you'd have to say that she's been wrong too, because she always said they made the decision together. But Israel didn't follow his advice, and I think it was a very, the Middle East is rapidly changing. There are prophets that say the world will come to an end in the Middle East. You know that, right? And we have weapons today that are so scary. When you look, I rebuilt them all. And when you look at the weapons we have today, the biggest threat we have in the world today is nuclear weapons.
Jesus Christ, when I thought things could get scarier. Did you hear what that pedo Trump say? The world will come to an end in the Middle East. So he's basically admitting that he believes in eschatology, and I know you, the viewer, have too. How many of Professor Yang's lectures have you watched to see the connections? I know because I am one of them. Also, this pedo says that the biggest threat is nuclear weapons. Yeah, like the ones that Cyril has, but refuses to declare. And Joe gives no pushback at all. Sure, it was the presidential campaign, but come on, Joe. You filthy baboon.
This is Rabbi Sneerson. And he is the leader, or he used to be, he's died, but he used to be the leader of an organization called the Shabbat Lubavitch. I'll be talking more about Shabbat Lubavitch as we go along, okay? But I introduce you to him now. This year, 1990, and he is talking to Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a young and upcoming politician in Israel, okay? This is Netanyahu,
מה שישראל לאחרונה ניתצו כמה עניינים. מה שרואה עוד, וגם משהו שעדיין משאיר ליבו. אז הייתה משהו במה ידיעתו. עושים. הכנראה שהיא מספיק, כאילו שהיום כבר כמה שעות מגיעים עדיין ליבו. אבל יש עוד כמה שעות, אבל יש להשתדל גם היום, בצורה טובה.
So what's going on here? Okay, so as an up-and-coming politician, Netanyahu is going to the rabbi, and the rabbis are the most powerful people in the Jewish society. He basically says, will you give me your blessing? Will you support me in my political endeavors? And the rabbi says, yes. They also talk about how things are progressing, okay? So another way of saying this is that there's almost like a plan in motion to achieve certain religious objectives. And things are going well. But the Rabbi Schneerson says,
I do things that make it, that don't necessarily make me so popular. I just do what's right. And when you do that, you're more
This is the sad part of it all. When our Zionist president was on the JRE, he let us see a glimpse from behind the curtain and a glimpse into our future. It's ironic that this might have been the only sincere thing he said all episode. Yeah, sure, you just do what's right. This guy should sign up for Kill Tony and get a golden ticket for all the fucking jokes he told on the JRE.
I don't know why. I read that Kamala Harris made that decision when she was sleep deprived, which is kind of hilarious that she said that. So she's kind of admitting she kind of fucked up.
Yeah, they obviously should have picked Josh Shapiro at, governor of Pennsylvania. Yeah. That would have been the no-brainer. That's the no-brainer move.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania's linchpin state.
Do you think it's because he's Jewish, because of Shapiro, that the anti-Palestine people would probably yeah. Or the anti-Palestinian invasion people?
I think it was an anti-Semitic thing.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Twitter, at the early Twitters, you would be kicked off forever if you just dead name someone.
There's no way that the sort of Kamala puppet regime would allow X to exist.
You really think that they'll be able to shut it down, though? Is there a pathway to that?
Yes.
What would they do?
Well, they can stick the DOJ on and say they've had this whole thing about hate speech, misinformation, whatever, except that they're the ones pushing the misinformation. But that doesn't stop them from filing massive, lawsuits and using the DOJ. The DOJ has, been attacking SpaceX, for example, for not hiring asylum seekers, even though it is legal for SpaceX to hire anyone who's not a permanent resident of the U.S. So we're damned if we do and damned if we don't.
Yeah, okay, Elon, we get it. We're thankful you bought Twitter to get at least some form of free speech in this communist hellscape. But to all you Goyim listening here, don't get it twisted. The only reason Elon bought Twitter in the first place is that he could have a way of seeing in real time true reactions from people, and not the woke bullshit that is getting slushed through ChatGPT and all these other bullshit AI programs.
It could be that they thought that was a liability because there's all these pro-Palestine people right now because of the situation in Israel. That completely makes sense that they thought that would be a liability, but
I don't know the reason. I'm just guessing. What SpaceX is considered an advanced weapons technology. So it's covered by international traffic and arms regulations because we make rocket technology that can be used against the United States. So if North Korea or Iran got SpaceX rocket technology, they could use that to launch nukes at America.
Right.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that'd be really bad.
That'd be really bad.
In the end, I think Elon shows his true colors here. Because a missile from Iran is the least of our worries, with all the Zionists slurping on our children. And yes, I know I keep mentioning it, but we must never stop spreading the truth. We must always remember that if there's absolute evil in this world, then the upside must also be true. Absolute good must exist. Elon will get his day of judgment before the Creator, and when that happens, he might not be so merciful. So Elon, Joe, fuck both of you. Enjoy an eternity of demons chewing on your bones and blitzing your soul into a million pieces again and again.
It's so strange that's sort of the thing that red pilled me.
Yeah.
When I got attacked for that, I'm like, this is so nuts. I can't believe we're at this stage where I'm saying, hey, I don't think it's cool if you pretend you're a woman and beat the fuck out of women, and people are
Yes,
like, you're out of
exactly.
line. Like,
No, totally.
well, we're in fantasy land now.
Yes,
Now we're
exactly.
pretending
Yeah.
because it helps you. It helps you feel better.
Yeah. Totally.
It's just such a strange time, and if it wasn't for something like Twitter where this could be discussed.
Joe still seems stuck with pronouns and boomer politics from the year 2000. Joe, have you not seen that the world is burning? You can turn your platform into a voice for good, but no, you would rather give your platform to someone who was named more than 3,000 times in the Epstein files. What a fucking disgrace, Joe. You're just pathetic. The night is dark and full of terrors, and always remember, these people would not flinch to kill or poison you or to molest your children. Stay vigilant and spread the word. The future is within our grasp.